The year is 2028, and the world is dying. The global energy crisis has escalated into a catastrophe. Oil reserves are depleted, solar grids are failing, and major nations are preparing for a ground war over the last remaining scraps of fuel. The only hope for the human race lies in a single, desperate experiment, floating thousands of miles above the planet, the Cloverfield Station. We begin on Earth, sitting in a car with Ava Hamilton and her husband, Michael. The tension is palpable. The radio broadcasts news of rolling blackouts and potential military strikes. Hamilton has been offered a spot on the station to work on the Shepard particle accelerator. If this machine works, it will create a self-sustaining energy source for the entire planet. Infinite power. No more wars. But Michael is hesitant. It's a dangerous mission, and they are still grieving a massive personal tragedy, the loss of their children in a house fire. Hamilton feels she has to go, not just to save the world, but to escape the ghost of her grief. Fast forward almost 2 years. We are on the Cloverfield Station. It has been 694 days of failure. The crew is exhausted and at each other's throats. The team is international. Keel, the American commander. Hamilton, the British comms officer. Schmidt, the German physicist. Volkov, the Russian engineer. Tam, the Chinese engineer. Mundy, the Irish mechanic. And Monk, the ship's doctor. Tensions are boiling over, particularly between Volkov and Schmidt. On Earth, Russia and Germany are on the brink of war, and that paranoia has infected the ship. Volkov accuses Schmidt of sabotage, believing the German is stalling the experiment to let Russia starve. Finally, they prepare for one last attempt. They have enough fuel for a stable beam. They initiate the Shepard accelerator. The machine roars to life, spinning particles at light speed. The energy output spikes. It looks stable. The crew cheers, they have done it. They have created a stable energy beam. But then, a catastrophic overload occurs. The station shakes violently. Red lights scream, sparks fly. When the shaking finally stops, the silence is deafening. Hamilton checks the sensors. Shepard is offline, she says. They try to contact Houston Command, but there is only static. Hamilton opens the window shields to get a visual on the planet. She looks out, expecting to see the blue marble of Earth. But there is nothing. Just empty, black space. The Earth is gone. Panic sets in immediately. Volkov suggests the unthinkable. Did we destroy it? Did the particle beam incinerate the planet? Commander Keel tries to maintain order, but nothing makes sense. The station's gyroscope, their primary navigation tool, is gone. It hasn't just broken, it has physically vanished from the ship without a trace. While the crew scrambles to figure out where the planet went, the station begins to exhibit bizarre behavior. It starts with Volkov. While working on a panel alone, he feels something crawling on his face. He looks in a mirror. The reflection of his eye starts moving independently. He screams and panics, then heads straight to the 3D printer to make a gun, which he then loads with live bullets. He stumbles into the hallway. He finds Schmidt and pulls the gun. He is raving, shouting that Schmidt is a traitor. "I know what you are," Volkov screams. He points the gun at the crew, but suddenly, he freezes. He drops to his knees, convulsing in agony. He collapses, dead. The crew rushes his body to the medical bay. As Monk, the doctor, prepares to examine him, Volkov's mouth flies open. But he doesn't vomit blood. He vomits up worms covered in blood. As they process this horror, a piercing scream echoes through the ship. It's coming from inside the walls. Mundy and Keel grab tools and sprint toward the sound. They unscrew a maintenance panel and shine a light inside. Tangled in the high-voltage wires, fused directly into the machinery, is a woman. They cut her out and drag her to the medical bay. She is gasping for air, pierced by cables. When she wakes up, she looks at Hamilton with recognition. "Ava?" she whispers. "What are you doing here?" The crew is baffled. They have been alone in space for 2 years. There is no way a stowaway could have hidden in the wall. But this woman, whose name is Jensen, claims she isn't a stowaway. She claims she works there. While Jensen recovers, strange events continue to plague the ship. Mundy, the Irish engineer, is trying to repair the hull breach caused by the overload. Suddenly, The wall sucks his arm inside. He screams, trying to pull back, but the wall continues to pull in, trapping his arm up to the shoulder. The metal shears through his bone, severing his arm completely. But here is the nightmare logic of the paradox. Mundy doesn't scream in pain. He looks at his stump. There is no blood. The wound is perfectly cauterized. I don't feel anything," he says. Then, down the hallway, the crew sees something crawling on the floor. It is Mundy's severed arm. It is moving on its own, dragging itself by its fingers. It isn't dead tissue. It is sentient. Mundy looks at it and says, with terrified humor, "That's my arm." They cover the arm with a box as it continues moving its fingers. Mundy suggests that the arm is trying to write something. Then they give it a pen. The crew watches in stunned silence. The arm writes 3 words: "Cut Volkov open." They realize the dead Russian's body holds a clue. Inside the body, the organs are shifting and moving. But hidden deep inside, they find the missing gyroscope. The arm knew where it was. The physics of this dimension are trying to help them, but in the most gruesome way possible. Schmidt realizes what happened. "The Cloverfield paradox," he whispers. It was a theory that warned the accelerator could smash dimensions together. They haven't moved the station. They have moved universes. They are in a parallel dimension where the Cloverfield station crashed into the ocean 2 days ago. Jensen is the sole survivor of that crash. In this universe, Earth is already at war, and the energy crisis has caused global collapse. Meanwhile, we cut back to the real Earth to follow Hamilton's husband, Michael. He is navigating a war zone. The city is being torn apart by explosions and collapsing buildings. While scrambling through the rubble of a destroyed hospital, he hears a child screaming. He finds a young girl named Molly trapped in the ruins. He puts her in his car and drives toward a friend's reinforced bunker where he treats her injured arm. Back on the station, tragedy strikes again. Tam, the engineer, is trying to fix the ventilation system. She enters the airlock to reset the valves. But suddenly, the door slams shut behind her. It locks. The water starts to rise rapidly. She screams for help. Hamilton and Keel try to override the door, but the computer denies them access. The water fills the small chamber in seconds. But it's not just drowning her. The pressure inside the tank begins to fluctuate wildly. The water freezes instantly, killing Tam. The ship is picking them off one by one. The crew is devastated. But they have a choice to make. They have fixed the Shepherd beam. They can use it to go home. But Jensen begs them not to. She explains that her Earth, this parallel Earth, is doomed. They have no Shepherd station anymore because it crashed. If Hamilton and the crew leave, billions of people in Jensen's world will die. She pleads with them to give her the accelerator so she can save her planet. The station's oxygen supply has been compromised, and Mundy is forced to head into the maintenance deck to repair it. As he works, the station's physics begin to warp again. A massive magnetic surge suddenly ripples through the hull. The wrench Mundy is holding is ripped from his hand, flying into the wall with violent force. Before he can react, the magnetic pull targets the metal on his own gear. His safety harness and equipment are dragged toward the wall, pinning him against the vibrating metal plates. He fumbles with his buckles, desperately fighting to release the harness. He unlatches the gear and falls back, finally free from the wall's grip. But the relief lasts only a heartbeat. The magnetic ferrofluid begins to stretch out from the wall like a tidal wave of sentient oil. It gets a hold of Mundy before he can scramble away, instantly encasing him against the hull. The fluid hardens in seconds, filling his mouth and lungs and killing the engineer instantly. Hamilton is torn. Jensen shows her something that breaks her resolve. She pulls up a live feed of Earth in this dimension. She shows Hamilton her house. In this reality, Hamilton's children never died in the fire. They are alive. Jensen offers Hamilton a deal. Stay here. You can have your life back. You can be a mother again. Hamilton is seduced by the idea of seeing her daughters again. She debates taking an escape pod down to this alternate Earth, but Commander Keel snaps her back to reality. The station is unstable. The magnetic fields are tearing the ship apart. To make matters worse, the ventilation failure has turned the maintenance deck into a death trap. A rotating ring of the station needs to be manually detached to save the rest of the ship. Commander Keel realizes someone has to go out there and pull the lever. But the magnetic force is so strong it will crush anyone who does it. Keel looks at his crew. He knows he is the only one who can make the decision. He says his goodbyes and enters the maintenance shaft. He pulls the lever. The mechanism engages, detaching the unstable ring. But the force of the separation shears off the section he is standing in. Keel is sucked out into the vacuum of space, sacrificing himself to save the others. Now, only Hamilton, Schmidt, Monk, and Jensen remain. Hamilton decides she cannot stay. Her children in this world are not her children. She belongs in her own reality, no matter how painful it is. She tells Jensen they are going home, but Jensen has snapped. She cannot let them leave with the only machine capable of saving her world. She pulls a gun. She knocks out Hamilton. Jensen finds Monk working on the screen, and an argument breaks out between them. Jensen kills him on the spot. Hamilton wakes up. She realizes she has to fight to save the station, so she goes to find Jensen. The Shepard station is silent, except for the hum of the particle accelerator. Jensen points the gun directly at Hamilton. Jensen isn't doing this out of hate. She's doing it for survival. She forgot about Schmidt. He drives the key hard into Jensen's calf, slicing into her leg. Jensen screams in shock. Schmidt scrambles on top of her. He fights with everything he has left. But Jensen, fueled by the desperation of saving her entire planet, overpowers him and shoots him in the arm. She then goes to find Hamilton to kill her and take the station, but a fight breaks out between them, and Hamilton manages to shoot out a window pane. The sudden decompression sucks the air out of the room. Jensen loses her grip and is pulled toward the breach. Hamilton seals the door just as Jensen is sucked out into the void of space, dying instantly. Hamilton rushes to Schmidt. They are the last two survivors. They reconfigure the Shepard beam to reverse the particle overload. They have one shot to ride the surge back to their original dimension. They fire the machine. The station screams as reality bends around it. White light consumes everything. When the light fades, the silence returns. Hamilton looks out the window. It worked. They are back. Hamilton calls out to Houston. Mission Control, this is Cloverfield Station. We are reading you loud and clear. Houston responds. They are ecstatic. Hamilton and Schmidt straps in and prepares to land. But on the ground, Michael is not celebrating. He is standing in the bunker with Molly. He hears that the station is preparing for re-entry. His face goes pale with terror. He screams at the mission control officer on the phone. You have to tell them not to come back. You can't let them land. The final shot of the movie shows the Cloverfield pod breaking through the cloud layer. Descending toward the ocean, a creature of impossible size lets out a roar that shakes the heavens. Hamilton and Schmidt think they are returning to save the world. They don't realize that in the time they were gone, the paradox opened portals all over their Earth. Friends, if you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and like the video to support us.